Welcome to Swiftuality, where we meet at the intersection of Taylor Swift and spirituality.
We're your hosts. I'm Megan.
And I'm Hannah. Alright, welcome back to the show. Today we are traveling back in time to reminisce on being young and loving Taylor Swift. And we have a special guest here with us to talk about growing up a Swiftie.
Yes, I'm so excited to have my friend Erica join us today because we're taking it all the way back to high school. But a little bit about Erica before we jump in. Erica lives in Los Angeles. She's attended every Taylor tour since 2009. She has, 27 plants, which is also very impressive. She loves trying new things with her Swiftie in training boyfriend, and she's looking forward to seeing Taylor in Female Rage the Musical in Germany this summer. She also has an MA in clinical psychology, so she knows her stuff, and I'm so excited for what we're going to talk about together. So welcome, Erica.
Oh my God. Welcome, Erica.
Yay, I am so glad to be here. This feels so high school. I cannot wait to be on Swiftuality.
Yes, we're so glad you agreed to come on this.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I want to ask about Swiftie boyfriend in training. Because I feel like we have fellow boyfriend Swifties in training out there.
I definitely acknowledge his training is more consensual now than it was at the beginning of our relationship. He wasn't much of a Taylor Swift fan. Mm-hmm. You know, he knew some things here and there, but I really think through our relationship, whether it was like the osmosis of just me blasting Taylor or the information he's learned through, actually one night specifically is coming up for me where we were kind of just like about to go to bed and he asked me a question about Taylor and I was like, oh, well, let me tell you her timeline of boyfriends.
Oh my gosh.
Let me share with you this wealth of knowledge that just lives in my head.
Let me share what's rent-free going through my mind every day because he asked about who All Too Well was about and he's like, oh, is it about John Mayer? And I was like, whoa. And I just happened to pull out my pie chart and my PowerPoint and it all began from that beautiful night where we discussed Taylor Swift at length.
Wow.
That's amazing. But like he has to know from the beginning, right? Like this is what he's getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no really hiding it when you walked into my apartment at the time, and there was like these two giant posters of Taylor, a signature, and like all these random things, that it was like a casual fandom.
So
that's
cute.
Amazing.
Versus a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you actually met him in high school, but then like reconnected many years later, right?
We did. On the So High School theme, we went to high school together. We actually went to homecoming together in high school.
So cute.
Then we happened to live quite literally 1 mile apart from each other.
Oh my gosh.
Reconnected, and the rest is history.
So crazy.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. It makes holidays easy because our parents still live quite close.
That's so convenient.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to talk more about our high school experiences and love at that age. But since we are called Swiftuality, we also want to know, Erica, what does spirituality means to you?
Thank you for asking. I grew up in a household that wasn't really religious. I mean, my dad's family was super religious growing up, and he didn't really connect to it anymore in adulthood. And my mom's family was as well. But they were both different religions. So, I mean, I was coming from a household where two people grew up going to private school based on their religions, but neither one identified with the religion anymore.
So interesting.
So it was kind of a little bit of everything and nothing, which kind of, you know, as Taylor Swift says, a friend to all is a friend to none. I didn't really learn much about religion, except through, little bits and pieces. And as an adult, and even I would say like child, teen, I always had a very spiritual connection. And so I think You know, I definitely believe religion can provide amazing beliefs for people and rituals and potentially shaped, you know, some of my understanding of the world implicitly, perhaps through like my grandparents or whatnot. But I think now in my present day, I definitely find meaning in spirituality, which kind of doesn't necessarily look like God is one thing for one person. And it's more cultural that my beliefs tie into. And it's really about like, you know, deeper connection to life beyond maybe a traditional religious framework. And it's kind of tailored to what I connect to more now. So that's as specifically ambiguous as I can be, I suppose.
Yeah.
I love that. I think so many people can relate to that, and it's definitely, you know, kind of where our world is headed, I think. So.
Yeah. Are you able to share what the two religions you grew up with are?
Yeah, definitely. So my dad is Jewish, my mom's Catholic, but actually my mom's like partially Jewish too. So it's like a whole lot of.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I think we all have a lot more in common than we realize, just because of the way that as humans we migrate. So it's just kind of curious to think about like whose religion is really what, I guess.
Yeah. We're big fans of geographic religions and history, and Hannah and I can get really nerdy about that. So.
Oh my God.
I know, I'm probably preaching to the choir, no pun intended.
Oh, we love it.
We're like, please tell us everything.
Yeah.
So those who are listening are probably like, okay, what is the backstory of like why Erica's here? And I think I mentioned before, Eric and I met in high school, and thank God for alphabetical order, because I sat directly in front of Erica freshman year of high school in like half of our classes. And I think it's interesting because we both kind of like didn't go to the feeder middle school that fed into the high school that we went to. So we were both kind of like newbies in that scene. And we have a very 15 coded relationship because we literally met in English class, just like Taylor and Abigail.
Oh, cute.
So it's very fitting to have Erica with us as we talk about kind of how we've grown since high school and what we've learned along the way about life and about love, womanhood, and what our expectations were of like what growing up was going to be like versus I think how they've actually turned out.
So basically what Megan's trying to say is this is essentially like a metaphorical Instagram post of expectations versus reality. So buckle up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like totally. Like we're thinking that we have it all figured out when we were younger, and then now looking back, obviously it's so different with perspective, you know. So obviously you guys grew up loving Taylor Swift. What was that like? Tell us more.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. TBT to 2008. I think that's kind of when Taylor Swift came into my life. And the phrase TBT. So
very popular. Throwback Thursday.
Throwback Thursday, Way Back Wednesday, all of those they all kind of came around the same time for me.
Yeah.
So basically, I can't actually pinpoint the first time I heard Taylor Swift, which is a real honest confession. But I just remember feeling really seen and supported by her music at a time where maybe feelings weren't as welcome or expressed as normalized.
Yeah.
And so I think hearing her music, I just felt very connected to her as a person. Something about her music allowed you to feel like you really knew her, like you really had friendship with her.
Right.
She really supported like the culmination of more friendships, because I found that some of my closest friends at the time really liked Taylor Swift as well.
Yeah, I think that's what originally kind of sparked our like deeper friendship besides just like being friends in class. I remember you telling me like, Megan, like, have you heard, maybe you asked me like, are you a Taylor Swift fan? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I love like Our Song and her first album. And you're like, oh, have you listened to her second album that just came out? And I was like, what? No, I didn't know that it came out. And then I remember like going to your house and you burned me the CD of Fearless, except it was like not in the right order. I think, I don't know if you like illegally downloaded it from LimeWire.
No, I had it from Target, first of all. I was not
sorry.
downloading it from LimeWire. But maybe the iMac. Do you remember I had the big computer?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
And the photos we took on this, it was insane.
I don't have that computer anymore.
Ugh.
But anyway, it's possible that I just was still learning how to burn CDs in my defense.
That's true. That's true.
14.
And I'm sure the iTunes technology wasn't all there yet, but I obsessively listened to Fearless. It was not embarrassing, but it was to the point where it was, that's all I could listen to.
I was listening to something, I don't even remember, but it was just talking about how Taylor, as a young artist, she's one of the few who writes to the audience her age. Other people are just writing for older adult, talking about stuff that's over our heads. So I think it's so cool that, like you guys said, you guys became friends because have you listened to this girl, have you listened to this song? And it's kind of this is how I feel. And these are the words that I didn't know how to describe my feelings, stuff like that. And it's just right there. Someone have said it so beautifully in an entertaining form. Yeah, and I think that's just so cool. And it's such an easy tool to find friends and connections. And especially at that age where that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I think I learned how to kind of express a lot through her music, and maybe even if I couldn't express it, it normalized a lot of just the broader human experience for me. I mean, it was comfort during really hard times and heartbreak, which in retrospect, you're that's so silly, but at the time it feels so heartbreaking. I mean, it just was definitely a way to feel less alone, and I think she really could ground things that felt so in the clouds for all of us.
And it's kind of crazy when you think about, there wasn't really songwriters who were teens, who got record deals and who were writing their own songs. It's actually crazy how prolific she was, that she managed to pull that off. And then what it kind of ignited in our generation.
And no one, I think the biggest thing for me was she represented almost this wave of feminism, and I don't want to solely contribute it to her because I think it's reductive of the growth we've had as women in society, but I think specifically in music, people kind of wrote her off as oh, she's just a teen, whatever. But I mean, her business acumen, her ability to articulate, her ability to grow, her ability to constantly, metamorphosize. I don't even know if that's a real word, but I just went with it. I think really shows, it's this otherworldly quality that you don't see.
Yeah. I wish I had seen more at the time, too, of Taylor directing and designing her tours. All the stage design, that all came out of her brain, which I feel was it's so amazing. I'm oh, I wish that I saw someone my age doing that,
Right, and at that age, I totally just assumed that her team does everything.
Yeah.
And she just shows up to perform.
Right.
I couldn't conceptualize that someone her age can have so much autonomy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So crazy. Another fun thing that we did, Erica, I don't know if you remember, we would obsessively search YouTube for unreleased Taylor songs.
I remember that different version of Sparks Fly.
Yes, the original.
Yes. Beautiful Eyes.
Oh.
Okay, I didn't know about this.
There was slight lyric changes because she performed it a few times.
Yeah.
Do you happen to remember what those lines were?
It was the first line, I think.
I think it was part of the chorus. I mean, maybe the chorus, and I think one of the lines, I can almost taste it. I know.
In our defense too, the YouTube video of her performing was so grainy that we could barely make out the words.
I mean, we have to have compassion. This is 2008.
Yeah.
Flip phone, country fair, Taylor.
So crazy. Yeah.
We've come so far. Societally, it's bananas.
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure. Okay, I want to hear more about what it was like being in high school and loving Taylor Swift. Can you guys tell us more about that experience? What was that like?
Definitely. We had such a blast being Swifties in high school, and I think we were definitely known about, like, through our friends or through people who didn't even really know us that we were Swifties, because people would randomly bring up, did you see this Taylor Swift book? Or, like, did you see this on MTV? Things like that to us all the time.
Yeah, and it definitely wasn't cool to be a Swiftie in high school. Like, it was like we got
No.
made fun of.
That's another thing I was gonna ask.
Nobody celebrated our love of Taylor Swift, and there is a part of me that's like, you're welcome, all of you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I think people listened to Taylor in high school, but like maybe on the down low. But we were like, oh my God.
We were like writing 13 on our hand.
Yep. And I heart question mark also.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I heart question mark written on the back of my hand.
So good.
Oh, Taylor.
So good.
Do you guys ever think about why it wasn't cool to like Taylor?
I mean, I can just really emphasize, imagine, and I don't know if this is too generalized, but like where we went to school, it wasn't cool to be in touch with your feelings or to know what you were needing or to talk about your inner worlds or to connect on a deeper level. And that's all Taylor really represented was like depth, realness, the true human experience, the different spectrum of pain, agony, love, despair, heartbreak, overjoy, jealousy. And so I can imagine it may have almost been like foreign to others.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably just like generally everywhere in high school. Like you're having all these big feelings for the first time. And, people just don't want to have them because they are uncomfortable. And then also like, yeah, Taylor was just going for it. And I think those of us who needed that kind of emotional outlet found that in her.
Oh, for sure.
Right. And now I'm thinking about what's cool around the time we were in high school, and it's punk music and it's being emo, right?
Yeah.
It's, being detached and being too cool and nothing can affect me and like screw you, which is the opposite of Taylor, who's just being vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think also just generally like things that young women like are looked down upon. That's the easiest person to make fun of in our society, especially for being excited about something. Like it gets so easily written off. And I think even as women, like we grow up and there's still so many things that are like considered quote unquote basic. And it's like, oh, those are things that women like.
Really?
Yeah.
Like. Another thing too is I often got the comment of like, ugh, she's had so many boyfriends.
Oh.
She isn't relevant.
And I was like, she's had as many boyfriends as you.
Yeah.
Like, and also I don't necessarily connect to her not having, or to having so many boyfriends. I think that's part of dating, but because everything's magnified, it's this or that. Like, what if she was just kind of getting to know someone and now it's her boyfriend? Like,
right. And also even like on Fearless, she writes Breathe, which is about losing a friend, like someone who was in her band, kind of parting ways. And there's so many songs on that album too that I related to, like that are about love and relationship or whatever. Yeah. But I related to different relationships in my life, like with friends and family and, I
mean, I didn't even have really any serious boyfriends till later, but I connected to that level of heartbreak.
Right. Like we recognize the feelings even if we didn't recognize the experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
Another component I'm remembering too now is how much at, 15, 16, I was really drawn to Taylor's Fearless and Speak Now because of that fairy tale imagery, right? Like I was drawn to this idea of Prince Charming and romance and fantasy. And I think that's another thing that made it uncool, is that fairy tale is something that you're supposed to have outgrown by that point in your life, and people make fun of that, like princess and fairy tale, that's for little kids. Now you're too grown and you're supposed to be cool. And I don't know.
Yeah. It's not fine, Hannah, let it out. It doesn't have to be fine.
Like I just remember like being pressured to feel embarrassed to like Taylor because like she represents all of these uncoolness, these vulnerability, these weakness, these ideas that grown-up people aren't supposed to hold on to anymore.
Well, totally. I think it's like what Taylor said when she talked about writing Seven. She's like, when did we get to stop tantruming in the grocery store frozen food aisle or something like that? Like, when when were we no longer allowed to throw a tantrum and yell and scream at the top of our lungs?
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I do need to do that. But it's hard to let yourself do that, you know?
Definitely. And just like noting the mass appeal that she has now, it's like, oh, whoa, this isn't just like this cliche niche girlhood thing. It's like, oh, it's the human experience she's really able to kind of articulate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into some lyrics, as we love to do. We're going to talk about 15 today, because what other quintessential high school song is there besides 15 that, you know, really shows growth and looking back and what you get in perspective as you grow up. So let's just go through some lyrics, and if anyone has lyrics that mean something to them, let's just talk about it.
Yeah, so I think I have the first line highlighted, and, you know, first line of the song, you take a deep breath and you walk through the doors. When I was 15 was when I moved to the US for the first time, and so like just remembering first day of school was like first day walking into not only a new school, new country, just completely different context, and just like I barely spoke the language. Like, I don't know what the norms are. I don't know how anything works here. And just remember like wanting to like curl into myself and like I don't want to take that step, you know? But it's just like the song, like just listening to that like just always brought me back to that day. And it's like you take a deep breath and you walk through the doors, because like what other options do you have?
You gotta go. You gotta go. Yeah, like you don't have any other choice at that point. I remember I think walking into my first day of high school, and it was like I didn't want to get out of the car, but I had to because there was a line, you know.
Oh, the line. Oh, when you said that, I just had like tightness in my chest of like the line.
Yeah.
I think for me, the one that I really connect to is we'll be out of here as soon as we can. It's sort of this concept of, I mean, I don't know if you both feel this way. Like, I was always like wishing away that period of like, this could be next, and like, here's what will be. And I had this definite idea of like, once I graduate, like, it'll all start.
Yes.
And that's sort of what I held on to, was like, oh, Taylor also thinks this period's funny and weird and, you know, kind of tricky. I just can't wait to be out here.
Yes, I felt exactly the same too. Like, you were getting closer to being an adult. You weren't quite there yet. It's like, oh, I just have to get through these next 4 years and then I can be out of this town, ready to go.
Yeah.
So one of the lines that I think is really profound in this song is, and when you're 15, feeling like there's nothing to figure out. And then she says, we'll count to 10, take it in. This is life before you know who you're going to be at 15. Which, I don't even know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I have so many.
Yeah, I definitely connect to the sense that I knew everything. I was like, this is it. Like, I already have all this information. My opinions are so deeply rooted. It's called emotional reasoning. We've all done it. I feel it, so it's true, quote unquote. No, but it's like, you know, you're like, I'm 15, I know everything. But it really is life before you know who you're going to be. Because if I saw 15-year-old me, I mean, I definitely had this revolutionary growth, and I'm so proud of who I am now. I don't think at 15, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't truthfully have that much foresight for what 30 would look like, for what 25, it was sort of just this, well, I guess you just like go to college, get married, and have a kid. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It's just like, get through this. Like, I gotta get out of high school. No regard for what's ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone really talked to us. Megan, I can't speak for you, or Hannah, speak for you, about like that we have so much choice.
Yeah. I think this line for me, it kind of didn't really resonate in high school, because I think in some ways, like, yes, Erica, I like thought I knew a lot of things about what I wanted, or I don't know, kind of what, I forget what you said, but like the moral of like, oh yes, I know like what's right and wrong and like what I believe and that kind of stuff. And then at the same time, I felt like I also know nothing. How do you be an adult? How do you apply to college? Like, how do you actually get out and do that? But it's, and I'm sure it's developmentally necessary too, to like have this strong desire to get out and leave and be on your own. But also, then you're like, wait, I actually don't really know how to do that, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I just love that it's the contrast of you're 15 and you have nothing to figure out. And then I think Taylor in this song, oh yeah, the part where she says, this is life before you know who you're going to be. It's like you think you know who you are or what you want. And then she's looking back and she's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
And that's so hopeful.
Yeah. I guess it kind of goes back for me to like then, like the back then I swore I was going to marry him someday.
Oh.
But I realized bigger dreams of mine. Like, I don't know if you connect this, Hannah or Megan, but thinking like, oh, this person, like he's the one, or like I'm with him, like it'll be, you know, I'll be happier, like this will mean everything. And it's like, whoa. I mean, my sense of self has shifted so much out of just like, this person will make me happy. Like, not at all. I think our worlds are just so small naturally.
Right.
At 15.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know why in high school that's like the time that we think this is where we're gonna find our person for forever. Like,
I think it's because high school sweethearts are really hyped up.
that's so silly.
Oh my gosh, I almost just said like, I would not want to date someone from high school.
But you've come back around. You've come back around to it.
It was not intentional.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy and very grateful. And it's a very invisible string of us.
That is a very
very
sweet,
invisible string of us. But at the time, if you had told me at homecoming in, 2011, like, this is the person you're going to marry, I'd be like, what?
You'd be like, no, thank you.
No.
But you guys had room to grow individually, and I think that's what's important.
Definitely. And I feel very, very grateful for that.
Yeah. I also think that there is like that sense of security too that comes like because you are trying to figure yourself out and get out of there and, be on your own. And I think that when you find a partner in high school, that is helpful for those kind of fears. And it's like easier to do it with someone than without someone,
I don't know. I guess thinking from like a neurobiological standpoint, like if your brain's not fully developed, and you are relying on someone else to reassure you internally, like how can you develop a sense of self?
Right.
How can you kind of know your wants and likes and your values if you're constantly like with the same person co-creating your values? It's like I plus I has to equal we. You can't have a we before you have two individual people, because otherwise it's just codependence.
Right.
But at that young of an age, do you really have a strong sense of self? Unless that was something that was really cultivated in your home.
And I think what we want or think, kind of going back to like, you don't really know who you're supposed to be. You don't know what your future is going to look like, but you kind of are able to create it in that place, whether that is healthy or not for you,
And I'm just like, I don't know that like in high school I would have been like, oh, this person, like I said before, is going to be my future husband. I would have been like, I don't know, like he's going to be a math major. Still questionable sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. But now, I mean, what I thought I wanted then and what I want now is so different. And I guess I think that's just life that shapes that.
Yeah, for sure.
Now I only seek out math majors.
Because it makes good sense.
No, I'm just kidding. That wasn't part of the requirement when I was like, if we reconnect, you have to be a math major.
Not a bad strategy, in my opinion, but
it's a questionable strategy.
Moving on, we have, then of course, you sit in class next to a redhead named Abigail, and soon enough, your best friends, aka me and Erica. And Erica, I don't know about you, but I am always Taylor in this situation, and I see you as Abigail.
What?
Okay, Okay, I think that literally everyone, like me, like you are Taylor, and then your friend is
Right.
Abigail. This is for
That's
everybody.
what I'm saying. Like, I'm
right?
sure in Erica's mind, I'm also I'm Abigail to you, right?
You are Abigail. We can't both be Abigail. That's your rule. No. Megan, I love that there's a truth to every perspective except the wrong one.
Oh.
So, I'm actually Taylor.
Okay.
So.
Well, we'll agree to disagree on that.
Okay.
I love to the line laughing at the other girls who think they're so cool, as like our little nerdy swiftie selves did. We're just like, no, we love Taylor, and there's nothing that's gonna be able to stop us, you know.
It's like superheroes, you know?
Yeah, we didn't care because, you know, we'll be out of here as soon as we can. Such a felt line for me in this song.
I think it's like a coping mechanism for me to just like makes me feel bigger than I feel. And I honestly feel like even the cool kids can relate to that line.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So my other favorite line to kind of end our time together is, wish you could go back and tell yourself what you know now.
Ugh, a good one.
Yes. And so I was wondering if you all, like, if we could go back and tell your 15-year-old self now, which is what Taylor's looking back and doing in this song, like, what would you tell 15-year-old self?
Oh man, that's so tough. I think I try to be really present, and like, obstacles don't block the path, they are your path. You know, this is your journey and like where you need to go. But I think I would let myself know it didn't have to be that hard. I think I don't want to change what happened because it led me to who I am today. Had I had a different experience, I don't know that I'd be here. And I'm genuinely so happy with how my life currently is. But I do think I would tell myself to be kinder, embrace who you are more, take time to get to know what you're wanting. And, you know, every obstacle is leading you to an opportunity. And I think you don't have to go with the norm. You can, you know, don't be afraid to stand out. Like, prioritize what feels good to you, and it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, I love that. I've actually been reading my high school journals in preparation for this episode and talking with you all, which has been really interesting because I feel like for the first time, maybe ever, I'm able to have more compassion for my high school self. Like, I think a lot of times I look back and I'm like, oh, like, I'm so different now. I think in a lot of ways I'm the same, but in some specific ways, I like definitely want to distance myself from who that girl was.
Yeah.
But I don't know, reading my journals now as a 30-year-old, like when I was 15, 16, I have so much more compassion because now I can like see all of the anxiety that I was struggling with back then, that I was like, oh, that's a personality flaw, like that's a character flaw. And if I just tried harder, like if I just did a little bit more work, I, you know, would be better and like my problems would be solved. And I think I would go tell my 15-year-old self that, like, girl, don't be so hard on yourself. You know, you're not going to be able to like whip yourself into being a better person. And I think a lot of it too is just kind of self-acceptance.
Yeah.
So I think I would tell her, like, also, you're right, like, listen to your feelings. They're telling you important information about what's going on in your experience. And yeah, not that it was like a flaw. This is reflective of your experience, and that experience is real.
Yeah. Talk about a tie together with a smile moment. I had no idea that you had that sort of inner conflict happening.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I realized it later on, but it was so interesting to go back and see it so clearly in my journal as a young teenager. She seemed really sad, so I feel like, oh, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Hannah?
Man, I really wish I kept a journal when I was 15.
Yeah.
I just think that I was on survival mode. Honestly, I remember very little and very vaguely things from high school. I would listen to friends talk about things that happened when we were in high school, and I was in the event they're retelling, and I just didn't remember it the same, like, or I wouldn't remember it at all, which I look back and I think it is a gift that I didn't have that extra time to like be hard on myself or be critical or have self-image problems, because I was just trying really to survive and to learn the language and the culture and to graduate. But I think I would tell myself that I'm very lucky. I mean, a lot of people just have such a hard time in high school, but I had really great friends who took me under their wings and included me in things even when we couldn't communicate. So I think overall I would tell myself to enjoy this time and these friends that I have, and don't be too hard on myself. I think I played victim a lot, just wishing things were easier. I compare myself to other people who can speak English and they don't have to spend double amount of time to study like I did. The experience and the sort of tenacity that I have now because of those experiences is so applicable to life now. And those friends that I've made are still two of my very best friends. And we had such a blast just enjoying each other, screaming to 1989 on our way to lunch. And those are the memories that I think of so fondly and I really treasure. So yeah, chill out.
Oh, I can only imagine how much more difficult high school was for you, just coming to a new place and all. But thank you both so much for sharing. And it was so great to go kind of back to that high school time and yeah, just celebrate how far we've come and where life has taken us now, because it's been a cool journey and it's fun to look back on and be like, oh, each step kind of prepared us for where we're going. And how lucky are we that we get to do this alongside Taylor and her music.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait for what Taylor keeps writing about and the life that we have yet to live, because I hope that it just keeps getting better as it's done so far.
Yes.
Erica, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so fun to have you and so great to have someone from my high school here to look back on this.
What a dream to go back to high school in a safe way.
Yeah. Oh.
But it was such a joy, and I'm so glad I got to connect with two fellow Swifties to one of my favorite podcasts. I'm putting this on my resume moving forward. So
Great.
even though I'm self-employed.
Just for you to
You
look
never
at.
know when it's going to be relevant. Yeah.
Put it on my LinkedIn, even though it's I'm a sole proprietor. But
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Anyway, thanks again, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
bye. This is our path. Obstacles don't block the path, they are the path. It's all gonna be okay.